Now we're going to work on the palm of the hand. And similar to the fingers, we're going to go ahead and delete one side of it. So I'm going to select my hand base, go into edit mode, and we'll delete this side of the model. So I'll select the face here, up arrow key, delete faces. Then here we can start kind of refining this little by little. So let's go into object mode, add modifier, multi-resolution, subdivide, and then we can go into sculpting and kind of start moving things into place. I'm gonna use the elastic grab here. Definitely have to start moving the bottom side here. Lost a little bit of the wrist there. And then let's refine this as well. I'm gonna turn on our overlays so we can see the topology, making sure we're not overly stretching any part. And the key thing is for the webbing we have in between our fingers, we always want the bottom part to be the one that sticks out, right? So this part of the model should be more forward than the top of the model. Okay. Okay. Then we want to start creating kind of the mass on this side, pushing this part down. Right. You want to maximize this topology as much as we can. Right. Create that dip in the middle, which goes all the way to the wrist. Then here we can kind of start pushing some of this stuff down, as the knuckles will be the highest part of the hand here. And then we can move this stuff over here. Let's see how it compares to the jacket. Oof, it is getting a little wide. Let's compare it to our concept here, just to see if we're able to kind of pull the hand out a little bit more. Oh yeah, our hand right now is a little small, so we can actually move stuff out. So I'm gonna move my hand base out first by going into modeling, edit mode, face mode, select all, making sure it's in normal mode, and then we can kind of pull this out. So now we're gonna do the same thing with the index finger. All, move it out. Same thing with the middle finger. Move it out. Same thing with the pinky finger. Move this thing out. Ring finger as well. Where are you? There we go. And then we can do the thumb as well. Now this one, probably gonna move it like this. Want to give myself space between the thumb and the index finger. probably rotate it out a little bit. Push it up. Okay. Cool. I feel like I can still move the fingers out a bit more. In comparison to the thumb, yeah, I feel like we may have to move the fingers forward some more. Okay. We go one by one. There we go. Yeah, I'm just trying to create a little bit more space in between the thumb and the index finger. Cool. Now we can adjust the hand base. I'm actually gonna move the thumb out some, so I'm gonna switch this over to global, move it out a bit, and then the hand base, we're gonna go back into sculpting mode. There we go. So now we have a little bit more room to kind of do our thing here. Okay. We may have to actually rotate our fingers here because it's starting to get a little wide. So it's always just kind of tweaking, making sure your proportions are good. Same thing with the pinky. And then we'll see if we can move the ring finger in some. Okay. All right. Go back to the hand base. Go back into sculpting. I just don't want to make it overly wide. Then we can start moving this up. Same thing with the bottom. We definitely want to move this up. And then move this down. So it covers the bottom of the fingers there. Okay. Not looking too bad. Just want to adjust the flow of this stuff here. Grab my grab brush and start kind of fixing little by little here. Okay, gonna hide my thumb because I want to just clean up some of this edge flow here before I move up in subdivision. Okay. Right. Okay. Just trying to keep an edge loop in between each finger just to make sure I have enough resolution. between each finger as we go up in subdivision. All right. Gonna smooth some of this stuff out. Gonna reduce my intensity. All right, let's subdivide. Okay. So we're gonna go back to our elastic grab, making sure that the bottom part here extends more forward than the top, right? So if I remove my fingers here, right, we should see this part down here stick up, stick out more than the top. Oops. So yeah, it's a lot of tweaking back and forth here. All right, let's bring out our fingers. We need to kind of blend the thumb in a little bit more. I think we need to start adding some volume here. Same thing over here. Let me hide the jacket for now. And then kind of focus on adding a little bit more of thickness over here. All right. And with our draw sharp, I can start kind of creating some sharper angles around the wrist here, especially at the bottom of the wrist, right? We got to create the clear separation between the arm and the hand. Right. You should have like two bumps in the back here. Let me grab my grab elastic brush here. There we go. Now we're getting a good transition there. Actually, I'm gonna do my grab brush and then slowly shape this up. Then with my draw sharp, gonna create a little bit of separation between the thumb here and the index finger. And then smooth out some of this stuff here. Because you still want the like the peak of the palm here to be kind of the area closer to the wrist. There we go. And I'm gonna use my inflate brush to kind of inflate the base here. Right. And now we can start refining up here. Use my draw sharp to kind of indent here in between the fingers, right? You start getting that kind of bony feel. Gonna smooth it a bit. That's why it was key to have an edge loop in between each finger, so I'm able to easily achieve this detail even with a lower resolution model. Okay. Now we can subdivide again and just keep refining these forms. Until we get something that looks kind of similar in refinement as the rest of the hand here. Okay. And I always kind of like to have the middle part, this part here in between your middle and ring finger, to be kind of like the peak of that bottom part. Same thing up here. You want your knuckles uh, in the middle to be the ones that are furthest in front. I'm gonna take my elastic grab and just pull everything a little bit forward. There we go. I'm gonna take my draw sharp and start refining some more. Right. Start kind of creating the fatty parts of the palm here. I'm gonna use my inflate just to kind of help me a little bit more here. And then just smooth some other stuff out. Yeah, so just back and forth, refining, smoothing, grabbing, right? Kind of want to flatten this part here. I'll just smooth it out. Broadening this out a little bit. There we go. Just gonna smooth this out a bit. I'll fix the angle of this a little bit. Don't worry, we'll get a better transition here a little later. I'll just kind of reduce the volume on the knuckles a bit. Okay. Now we can subdivide again. I'm going to remove my wireframe just to see how everything's looking. Then we can use our draw sharp. And again, start refining some of these features. Really pushing these in. Smoothing it out a bit. Right. I'm going to draw this crease a little bit more. Okay. Same thing here. And with my grab brush, I can start shaping this up a little bit better. All right. Yeah, slowly but surely, you can start building those volumes. Gotta be careful not to go too realistic here, but I always like to really block in on my anatomy and then just slowly smooth out what I don't need. This palm still feels a little small, so I'm going to go ahead and mask this, turn on my overlays, go down in subdivision. It's a lot of back and forth once you really start refining this stuff. You notice that maybe your initial plan wasn't perfect. So I'm gonna go to mask, smooth it, and let's do a couple iterations. All right. And then we're gonna take our elastic grab, increase the size of it, and just really pull this thing out. Okay. Now we can clear our mask. I'm gonna adjust my fingers again. So I'm gonna go back into my modeling tab. Select the index finger, pull that out. Select my middle finger, pull that out. So forth and so forth here. And then now we can go back to the hand base, sculpting, and I think it's looking pretty good. Starting to get the proper spacing between the hand and the thumb, or else he wouldn't be able to grab anything. So let's see how it looks here with everything else. Okay, I think that's reading pretty well. I'm just curious to see how it, in terms of the reference here. Okay, the length is a little bit closer now. It's a little bit longer on our end, but I think we should be good. I know in the concept the hand is a little bit taller, but if we were to do that, I think our hand would look a little too chunky on that side. So let me. Yep. So now we can kind of finish this off here by subdividing it again. Okay. Then just kind of edit this part here. Then I'm going to use my draw brush, reduce the strength on it. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Subdivide one last time just to get these final details. So I'm going to go with my draw sharp and just draw these lines again. Just some basic creases here. You always want to do the two fatty uh, chunks of the hand, and then kind of like two wrinkles here. You could add some to kind of break it up, but then it starts getting a little too realistic. Okay. I'm gonna hide the jacket to refine this wrist part here. There we go. Same thing here. And probably gonna make this one last change. The bottom part of the palm here should be the widest part. So I'm gonna start kind of pushing this in a little bit. And smoothing it out. And then with my inflate brush, we can start inflating the fatty part of the hand here. Right? You don't have to be too anatomically accurate with this kind of stylized character if you don't want to. But it does look a little bit odd to me, so I had to kind of make that adjustment. Okay, there we go. Just putting the finishing touches here. Go up in subdivision. I draw sharp again, and then just emphasize this crease here. Cool. So I think that's pretty good. You can keep refining it until you like the palm shape that you like. I think for our purposes, this is as detailed as I'm probably going to want to get. I'm probably going to smooth out some of this detail afterwards as well. But just to give it a little bit of structure, I went ahead and kind of defined these shapes here. Cool.